Alright guys, it's no surprise that IT departments, individuals, and repair shops are looking for ways to simplify, improve, and increase productivity associated with operating system installs and diagnostics. There's a large time and cost requirement for distributing, installing, and updating just a basic Windows 7 image, and it's so unnecessary. We can do it a more efficient way that will cut your time in half, I mean 75% even. It doesn't matter depending on how effectively you utilize this technology. It can be a game changer, and it's free, guys. It doesn't cost a thing. The only thing we need, and the only paid thing we need, unless you download it somewhere, is Windows Server 2008 or above. You could use a lesser server version, but the Windows deployment service that utilizes the operating system install side isn't as fully matured in those earlier versions. We're not going to be able to fully utilize all the cool little knickknacks that we're going to have integrated into anything above that. So let's jump right into it. Example 1, you're doing an operating system install image. You're going to have to install drivers, you're going to have to install runtimes, you're going to have to install updates, you're going to have to install some applications, you're going to have to do a lot of stuff repeatedly. And if you do that day to day and you work on any more than one at a time, you're going to see that gets very repetitive extremely quickly. It will make you go postal, because that's the exact same thing that the postal service has to deal with, the same thing over and over and over, guys. Let's not do it anymore. Let's get that out the window. It doesn't need to be here. We got something better, and it's here. We're going to learn it. So no more installing drivers, guys. You won't have to do it for the network card. You'll have to get some drivers just because there's so many different hardware variations out there, but you won't have to use a different computer to get that driver online that you absolutely have to have. It's already going to be there. You're not going to have to install runtimes. At worst, all you'd have to do is update them. You're not nearly going to have to install as many updates. We're talking almost all the updates to date slipstreamed into a package that's going to be automatically applied to whatever you install. Okay, that's nice by itself. And then also for that unique circumstance, and really that pain in the butt circumstance, when you put the disk in the computer and you find out that it doesn't have the hard disk controller driver on the Windows disk, so you can't even get the operating system installed. You gotta slipstream a driver into the disk, and hey, guess what? All that time you spent, and what do you have? At the end of the day, you have a disk that's only going to work on that hardware platform. Other than the generic that's already slipstreamed into the disk, it's only going to be beneficiary on that one hardware platform. So let's do it a little bit better, guys. Let's already have all the drivers for almost all the network cards, almost all the Wi-Fi cards into one package, and not something that we have to install on the computer, all of them. It chooses. It looks at the hardware IDs, looks at a couple different variables, and boom, it's going to install those drivers. That's going to be automated, guys. It's changing. It is a game changer. Next part, diagnostics. Okay, there's a lot of different issues that we run into in the IT industry, and a lot of different variations of those same issues. So generally speaking, one tool doesn't roll them all. There's not a magic button that you can hit. There's usually a process that you go through to do diagnostics, checking the hard drive, checking the RAM, maybe running a video test before you even touch the software, just to make sure that that core foundation that you're utilizing is stable, and that it's not going to have stability issues. Well, you're going to be using a couple different disks, unless you are willing to compromise and say, well, hey, you know, it's right here, it's easy to use. Let's go down that route. Let's not. Let's have the best at our fingertips in one centralized point, and significantly reduce time spent on that diagnostic. Okay, whatever you're doing, removing a password, it doesn't matter. This system is going to completely change the way you do it. So let's jump right into it. As I said, this is going to be a brief video, guys. This is just an introductory video. I'm going to show you the technology. I'm going to show you it working, and then next part of the series, we're going to actually build it. And you're not going to have to build as much as you're thinking. I'm going to give you a lot of the tools already pre-configured, and a lot of time invested on my end to save you a significant headaches and roadblocks and continuous reading and research If you want to do that, you can. I'm going to put in the description all the utilities and all the knowledge bases that I used personally to get my system initially up off the ground. But hopefully you'll find out that, hey, me giving you the unintend.xml file or me giving you my driver packs is going to be more efficient for you, and also expand your knowledge rapidly instead of having to build it up. You can start off on on step 12 instead of 1. So right into it, guys. We got Windows Server. That's the first requirement. You can use any Windows Server, but anything below 2008 has significant restrictions in place on Windows Deployment Service, and that's one of those technologies that we're going to be utilizing for the operating system installs. And I would suggest anything above 2008. You can purchase it, you can download it. There's a lot of different ways to get Windows Server. I'd suggest you invest in it. It's worth it. And then we're going to want to install Active Directory. Those two technologies are what we need for the operating system install to fully utilize the Windows Server side of it. Now, let's talk about the diagnostic side. And also, really, it overlaps, but mostly we'll just touch on the diagnostics. PXE Linux. This is a very useful plugin that you can install on the server. And it has an extremely abundant amount of possibilities. This is something free. You don't even have to purchase it. It's something you're not even going to have to set up, guys. That's the great part. I can go into detail about it, but guys, you don't have to set it up. It's going to be done. All you have to do is put the appropriate CD, ISO file, whatever it is, in the right folder, make the menu option changes, and you're in business. As I said, we're jumping. We're not going to take baby steps in these videos. So right off the bat, let's see it work. We got the Windows Server side. Well, can't do very much from a server. Let's simulate an actual PC being run. Let me switch that to full screen. Awesome, guys. So what we're going to do is boot from a network, like you would if you chose a boot option. Sometimes you'll see the LAN option. If you don't, you got to go in the BIOS. You got to enable PXE boot, and we're going to boot to the LAN. It's going to contact the server, and we'll see that response right there and then. And it was very quick. I don't know if you guys noticed that. That was within milliseconds. Look what's at my fingertips. We got memtest to test the memory, vivart to test the hard drive, hstat2 to test the hard drive in case vivart didn't work, or the other way around, comboot to bypass a password. Windows XP repair is really MS Commander, now known as DART, Diagnostic Agent Recovery Toolkit, and that's a live boot environment for MS Commander. So it's a Windows XP live boot. A lot of people had the higher-end version of this. You probably have seen it before if you've been around and saw that older higher-end version had it. It's there, and we can utilize it to its full capabilities to be able to do a seamless data backup or whatever we want to do. We got Paragon drive copies, so we can do cloning, MBAM to do virus removals, that's Malwarebytes, AVG to do a live boot time scan. No subscription required on that one. Ultimate Boot CD, excellent. I mean, the packages involved in that are just excellent by itself. Active password changer to remove a password, another virus removal utility, Windows memory test, video stress test, and another virus removal utility. And that's right at our fingertips. Within seconds I can load any of these. I mean, if we wanted to do a memory test, it would take literally a second to load that. And we'll go ahead and do that. I mean, just as an example, there we go, guys. It's running memory test, and this is not a super fast virtual machine. This is just normal machine, pretty relatively low hardware. I mean, we're talking less than a gig. So we'll reset that and reboot into it so we can go back to those options. So we got the response. We're already back in, guys. We can complete memory test, move to the hard drive test. Do the hard drive test, now we got video. Doesn't matter. You can easily switch between those utilities, and as I said, it's centralized, guys. That's so nice. Okay, so let's talk about Windows OS installs. Okay, so you're installing Windows 7, right? Well, that's great. Well, dang, man, it's right here. You don't need anything else. You don't need any other disk. You didn't need any disk in the first place or a flash drive. You have it all over the network. And you can boot into x64 setups, x86. You can do recovery consoles for Vista 7, whatever. And that's extremely useful because, as I said, guys, there's certain files that I'm going to give you that are called unintend.xml files. And those are going to automate the Windows install process. And then past that point, as I said, we're going to have that perfect OS. We're not going to have to do it again. And the time investment is so worth it. It's so easy. I mean, literally, you can incorporate it into your day-to-day operations as you sit right now and be able to achieve relatively the same thing. It doesn't slow you down, really, to make a perfect image because you're going to put that out anyway, right? So within here, we can install Ultimate 7, whatever. It's going to be automated. You know, there's nothing more to say about that. That sounds great to me personally. Not having to install the applications, drivers, or runtimes. It's done. I mean, that's what we need. It's what everybody should be using, some form of this. And there's, as I said, there's many different ways to do this, guys. And there's a right way, there's a wrong way, there's a middle way, there's better ways. But they require a significant amount of more time investment. And for what most of us are doing and what medium to large businesses need, this works great. We can boot into this utility, as you saw, over the LAN. We can also boot into it over a disk in case the network card isn't supported, or it doesn't even boot to the network, so it's old as garbage. We can boot USB, or even, here's the cool part, guys, HTTP. So what we're going to see is we can boot to it from across the world. If you want to and you invest a little bit of time, you can have a dynamic diagnostic CD essentially. So take, for example, you throw a disk in there, it only has one version of that software, guys. It's not automatically updated over the magic web. It's one version, and that's all. Okay, so there's no more going with it. Well, now we can update it dynamically in a centralized location. And that's going to allow us to keep up to date with these diagnostic utilities and not have anything static. It works the same for LAN, but HTTP, man, that's something else. And we'll learn about this later on in the video series, but hopefully this has given you a great introductory of what we should see. I mean, what to expect from this series. I mean, what really we're going to be focusing on. And yeah, I appreciate it.